We'll call this meeting to order.
All rise. Oh yes, this county commission meeting of Sumner County is now open pursuant to adjournment. God bless this country and this honorable commission, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Weatherford. We do not have a pastor tonight. I would encourage everybody, if you don't mind, just a personal request. One of my best friends when I was at West Point passed away this weekend, 49 years old, left 4 kids and his wife behind. His name was Jeff Casucci. Y'all could keep him and his family in your thoughts and prayers. I'd appreciate it. But let's bow our heads. Lord Jesus, we thank you for this evening and this time together, and we thank you, Lord, for the time to deliberate the business of Sumner County, and we thank you for the opportunity to serve our county and to serve you. And we pray that you will go before us tonight and that you will lift us up, help us to set aside anything that would detract us from seeking the truth and service to you. We give thanks each day that we get the opportunity to serve you and serve this county. Bless us, bless our servants, Lord, bless our first responders, our police officers, our county employees, Lord, our citizens, everybody that resides within Sumner County. We thank you for bringing us through the last year. We are thankful for the young people that we have gathered here tonight to honor, and we pray for your blessings upon them as they go out into the summer and as many of them begin new avenues of life. We pray for your blessings and guidance upon them. Bless us tonight. It's in your precious and holy name we pray. Amen.
If you will join the pledge to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, let's check our roll, Mr. Kemp.
Roll call is now open. Each commissioner, please record your presence.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Kemp. It's nice to have everybody back and everybody here. It's good to move forward with some normalcy. We're going to go to our agenda. I would like, without objection, what we're going to do is I'm going to move the certificates of recognition before we start our deliberation on the budget. If no objections to that, we'll make that move. Is there a motion to approve our budget? Motion made by Commissioner Taylor, seconded by Commissioner Kruger. What's that? You said budget. I'm sorry. I meant agenda. Does it hold for agenda? Everybody go with it. And then Mr. Mansfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to move to have 2106-06, the tax rate, moved before the budgets under report of the chair, if that's possible.
Okay. Motion made by Commissioner Mansfield. Is there a second by Commissioner Mo Taylor? Any discussion? What's that? To move 2106-06, fixing the tax levy, moving that before the budget.
I have one other motion. I would like to move to suspend the rules to not allow for call for the question during this meeting.
Okay, we can't handle 2 motions at once. Let's handle
that's fine.
Your agenda. We're on the agenda right now. We'll have to come back to that after we do
that's
this.
Fine.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
We got to do the agenda first, and we'll come back to that. Okay. All right. So the motion that's on the floor, made and properly seconded, is to move 2106-06, which is to fix the tax levy, to discussion before the budget. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Ms. Denny, does it just require a majority vote to move on the agenda? Okay, so it's already on the agenda. Okay. So a yes vote is to move the tax levy to before the budget. A no vote is to leave it where it is on our agenda. Let's vote. Okay, hang on one second. That's okay. Sorry about that, Mr. Kemp.
All right, it's going to be under amendment number 1 will be to move it, Mr. Chairman. So
okay.
The amendment is on the board. Each commissioner, please record your vote. All 24 votes are entered. With 10 affirmative votes, amendment fails to carry.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Kemp. All right, Mr. Mansfield, we can't make them. I can't accept your motion on call the question until after we have an agenda.
Okay.
So I'll come back to you on that. All right. Amendment failed. Back to the agenda. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Okay. I heard Commissioner Mo Taylor and Commissioner Mansfield vote no. Any other no's? Mr. Hyde. Okay. So I have the agenda passing by a vote of 21-3. Okay. Got approval of our agenda. Mr. Mansfield, I'm going to come back to you for your motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to move to suspend the rules so that to not allow for call of the question during this meeting.
Second.
Give me just 1 second. I'm consulting on parliamentary procedure here. Yeah, this is a 2/3 vote. Okay. All right. The ruling of our parliamentarian county attorney is that this motion to suspend the rules on this will require a 2/3 vote. So a yes vote on this motion will mean that we will suspend the rules for tonight and disallow the call of the question. A no vote would be to allow call the question during the meeting tonight. All right, let's vote.
The motion is on the board. Each commissioner, please record your vote. All 24 votes are entered. Does anyone wish to change your vote? With 5 affirmative votes, motion fails to carry.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Kemp. All right, your minutes are in your packet. Is there a motion to approve our minutes? Motion made by Commissioner Kruger, seconded by Commissioner Foster. Mr. Mansfield. Oh, it's okay. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to move our public recognition up ahead of everything, our certificates of recognition up ahead of everything else. Our certificate to honor Taylor Black is going to happen in July. So I'm going to ask right now if Ms. Tucker, Mr. Hyde, Ms. Kruger would come forward, and I'm going to yield the floor to them. And Deanne DeWitt, I'm sorry. Well, we'll get, if you want to stay, we'll do these first, and then we'll come back. Yeah.
Would the tennis team come forward? And the coach. I've had the privilege of knowing several of these young men, great guys, and I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that the principal, and they'll kill me for doing this, and the athletic director would also like to share in this if they would come forward. Mr. Frank, would you come forward? Mr. Frank is here. And Mr. Craighead, the athletic director. Sometimes we get, with these certificates, we get involved with the legal terminology when we're reading them and don't even really catch the important things. So I have pulled out the important tenets of this certificate. Commission members, you have those in your packet, and that's what we'll be voting on. So I want to just say a couple of things about the tennis team. When we started Merrill Hyde Magnet School back, started studying for a magnet school when I was director of schools in 2000, people thought that I had sort of lost it when I insisted that the kids that attend the magnet school participate in a sport or a physical activity. But we insisted on that, they did it, and to this day, the athletic program is becoming more and more successful every year. And this year, we had many, many successes on the athletic field as well as the academic field. Now, this tennis team is headed up by an excellent coach, Coach Colton Jones. Everyone raise your hand, please. Looks like a student, but he is the coach. Grant Cook. Is it Grant here? Grant, okay. Jesse Thomas, Alex Linville, Tobias Manderville, Eric Popa, and Joseph and Joshua Rodriguez. All right.
And Trey Brown.
And Trey Brown. Trey, how could I forget you? It's terrible. Trey is the grandson of school board member Patricia Brown, so see him pretty often. The significant thing that you're seeing here tonight is that these guys are the Tennessee State tennis champions in the state of Tennessee. Now, another important thing to recognize here is that they're not only the champions of a sport, tennis, but the average grade point average of this group is 3.8, which is tremendous. And I just want to congratulate them on such a great season, and I know that next year is going to be even better, not to put you under any extra pressure. So, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve this resolution and spread it on the minutes of this body.
Okay. Motion made by Mr. Hyde, second by Commissioner Kruger. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
We went in this order because at this time Commissioner DeWitt wants to recognize, and guys, you might stay, two of these young men, and she'll tell you what their honor happens to be, and I'll stay up here to try to determine for her who is Josh and who is Joseph. I think Joseph and Josh. Okay. Commissioner DeWitt.
Thank you. You stole my thunder there. I was going to do it as a quiz to all of you, see if we can get it straight. But, you know, it's the part. I'll give you a hint. So I do have a resolution, and this is, I think, probably somewhat precedent-setting back-to-back recognition of these two fine young men, seniors who have graduated. And I'm going to go ahead and read the resolution. I think you've got a better approach, but I want to make sure I don't miss any of the important, accurate details. Whereas Joshua and Joseph are seniors at Merrill High Magnet School, or at least they were, they're graduates now, ending their season by winning the doubles competition at the State Tennis Championship, after also winning the regional doubles every year since they were freshmen. And whereas both Joshua and Joseph were incredibly successful individually at the state championship, with Joseph playing number 1 singles, Joshua playing number 2 singles, and whereas both young men led the team as team captains through the team's best season in program history. And whereas Joseph and Joshua are talented athletes, also they are co-valedictorians and received a presidential scholarship and will attend the University of Alabama. And we wish them much success on and off the court. They are a privilege to know them and to be neighbors to them and to be part of this fine group. So, and I so move.
Motion made by Commissioner DeWitt, second by Commissioner Tucker. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. I don't know if you heard it, but I think I heard Mr. Becker say roll tide. But I will say, as a newly minted Alabama dad, congratulations, fellas, on everything. But I will say, roll tide. Go ahead, Mr. Hyde. I'm sorry.
Anything else?
No, sir. I'm good. I'm good. Thank you.
All right, it's not all about athletics, as you might expect at the magnet school, but it's very much academics also. And I have a privilege each year of recognizing the Quiz Bowl team. This group competes everywhere, and in order to compete on the national level, you have to have placed in the top 25% in all of the competitions. So you know that only the very best nationwide are getting to that level, and they did get to compete on the national level. I'd like for them to come forward at this time if they would, the ones that are here. I see that Adam's not here. This team placed 11th out of 50 teams in the United States. And a lot of that is due to the very hard work of not only the students, but Kim Ponce, who is the coach and has been the coach from the very beginning. She gives, and her children have graduated from the school, but she just devotes an untiring amount of hours to this Quiz Bowl group, and we appreciate her so much in the work that she does there at the school. The team members, if you would raise your hand, Adam Alvis is one, and I see that he's not here tonight. Will Houston, and Opal Flanagan, and Galen Way. We appreciate the fact that you all are here to be recognized tonight for the outstanding job you've done with the Quiz Bowl and all of the many, many hours you've put in this endeavor. And Mr. Chairman, I would move that this resolution be spread on the minutes and that we approve it tonight.
Okay. Motion made by Mr. Hyde, seconded by Commissioner Kruger. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
I would like to ask the Merrill Hyde Magnet School boys soccer team to come forward, please, and their coaches. Some of y'all can come over on this side. Great group of guys. So I would like to read this certificate of recognition honoring the Merrill Hyde Magnet School boys soccer team. Whereas, with great pride, we recognize the impressive integrity and drive of the Merrill Hyde Magnet School boys soccer team and their outstanding athletic accomplishments. And whereas this team had the best season in program history, making it to the 4th round of the state championship tournament, where they were only defeated in the eventual state champions. And whereas this team is as accomplished in the classroom as they are on the soccer field, with an average team GPA of 3.81. One-third of this team has a perfect 4.0 and includes 3 valedictorians. Okay, so who's the 3? Are they here? Awesome. Congratulations. Whereas, under the leadership of head coach Daniel Brooks, assistant coaches John Clinton and Sebastian Bronner, players Michael Carr, Connor Edwards, Connor Flatt, Ashvin Kodali, Joshua Lynch, Mac McElwain, Drew Miller, Isaac Stinson, Jake Burton, Shane Hensey, Trevor Keel, Michael C., Seth Whitley, Braden Evans, Brandon Madalsley, Drew Williamson, Lucas Walders, Michael Johnson practiced tirelessly and displayed great perseverance and dedication and showed unwavering commitment to excellence both on and off the field. Now therefore be it resolved by the Sumner County Board of County Commissioners meeting in regular session on this 21st day of June 2021 that this body does hereby congratulate and commend the Merrill Hyde Magnet School boys soccer team and coaches Daniel Brooks, John Clinton, and Sebastian Bronner for their tremendous achievements and wishes them much success in the future. And be it further resolved that this resolution be spread on the minutes of the body, and the clerk is to furnish a copy of this resolution to the Merrill Hyde Magnet School boys soccer team, and I so move.
Okay. Motion made by Commissioner Tucker, second by Mr. Hyde and Mr. Becker. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Congratulations. Everyone get a picture. Would you like to say a word or two? You're welcome to. Go right ahead. You can go ahead and say something if you like.
I'll say a quick word,
Okay.
real quick. Just to thank y'all so much for taking time out of y'all's night to do this for these young men. We really appreciate it. Thank y'all so much. They're a special group along with all the other groups here at Merrill Hyde. What a tremendous school. And I'm just so proud of these boys this year accomplishing something that our boys program with the soccer team has never done before. And a lot of hard work went into that and tireless hours. So I'm just really, really proud of them and thankful for working so hard for me all year. But just thank y'all again for taking the time out of y'all's night to appreciate these gentlemen. So thank y'all. Hope everyone has a great night. Thanks.
And before Mr. Frank leaves, let's take just a moment. You know, I think one of the things Mr. Hyde's comments that it's not just about academics or athletics, it's the whole student, and #1 school in the state of Tennessee, one of the top schools in the nation, Blue Ribbon School. Merrill Hyde has won every award, and it's exciting to see beyond just the classroom all that they're doing athletically, but if you really dig into what they're doing, it goes way beyond even just athletic fields and academics in the classroom. They're forming young men and women of character that want to serve their community, involved in all kinds of other projects and everything. So, Mr. Frank, Mr. Craighead, I really want to thank y'all for the work that you do each day with our kids, and please extend our thanks to the staff as well. Thank you. And parents and teams, you are welcome to stay for the budget deliberation. All right, your veteran service report is on your desk. And so are your docketing reports for debt obligation, financial statement memo, and highway public works fund analysis. All those are in your packet for you to peruse at your leisure. I've asked Commissioner Chris Taylor, to give an overview, but let's let him do the overview, and then we'll have our public comments. Commissioner Taylor, would you prefer to speak before or after public comments? Okay. What's that? Okay, I'm sorry. Let me do recognition of the public first. I'm sorry. Do we have anyone that wishes to sign up to speak tonight? I know Mr. Baker's already signed up, and okay. All right. Okay. 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 All right. I have Mr. Kevin Baker, 424 A.B. Wade Road, Portland, Tennessee. Mr. Baker, you have 5 minutes, and I think since the last time you spoke, we actually have a clock up there, like there's a timer up there that you can see.
Oh, excellent. And this is not on the budget, this is on the general agenda, right, for tonight?
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, cool. Well, I have 2. I signed up for 2.
Okay, that's fine.
You want me to do them both now, or?
That's fine if you'd like to.
Okay. Well, yeah, I guess there's not really a waiting line.
No, I think you're good. You got it.
All right, well, let me think about which one I want to do first. I guess firstly, I'm standing up in objection to the proposed nominee for reappointment to the Resource Authority, and for 2 reasons. The first one is, over his previous tenure, this individual has imparted upon the citizens of Sumner County 2 fee increases, okay? The first one occurred in the spring of 2019. And if you'd like, I can show you the documentation where basically the fee structure doubled, where 100 pounds of trash went from $2.50 to $5. And then most recently, the fees went up again this past spring. Okay, and again, it disproportionately affects the small individuals because basically it took the fee from a minimum amount of $5 up to $8 for a small amount. So if you bring 50 pounds, you're going to pay $8. It didn't affect the big guys. So that's the first reason, because it affects the small people, okay? But the second reason is because this individual on, what's the date? March 22nd, 2021, in this county commission hall at 46 minutes and 28 seconds, deceived you all. Because he said never in 7 years had there been a fee increase at the Resource Authority. Well, I can show you the documentation if you'd like, that in the spring of 2019, that fee increase happened. It basically doubled the rate. So basically this individual deceived you all into the public records, and basically he's going after the small people, and I don't think that deserves being reappointed. Okay, that's my first.
Okay, all right, we can reset the clock on that one, Mr. Kemp.
My second one, and I'm
Hang
almost...
on 1 second, Mr. Baker, I've got to get it reset.
it's probably not going to take 5 minutes, Mr. Chairman.
All right, there you go.
All right. So I'm almost embarrassed to get up here and talk about this, about the budget. This is about the budget. After seeing our $1-point-something million thing out there, I raised tonight in opposition to a combined total of about $120,000 that collectively the county of Sumner County pays for fees and memberships. Okay, and I just want this on the record. So our county commission, you're going to all vote on a budget tonight that basically says spends $30,000 for fees and memberships. The biggest portion of that goes to support the County Commission Association, who lobbies down at the state capitol against the citizens of Sumner County in Tennessee. Okay? In the school budget, there's $30,600. It went up from $18,000 in 2019, by the way, to fund fees and memberships. Again, the majority of that going to the TSBA, Tennessee School Board Association. And if any of you know anything about the Tennessee School Board Association, they basically spend a good portion of their millions of dollars that they take in every year lobbying the legislature down in Nashville, again, against the citizens. I could go down the list of all these. You know, $17,000, I don't know what development services, but again, we're going to pay fees and memberships, $17,000 fees and memberships for the development services portion of the budget, $4,000 to the Sheriff's Association. All of these people have entities down in Nashville lobbying on their association's behalf. And I guess the question I have before you vote for all of this stuff, who represents us citizens? Who stands for the small citizens? You've got these big corporate, TSBA is sitting right now on several $1 million in their bank account to lobby for schools? I mean, come on. I'd like you to take a look at that, you know. I think we spend an awful lot of money on an awful lot of things, and I really don't know anymore. We're supposed to be a republic. We're supposed to be a supermajority of Republicans here. I don't feel as if I have a Republican form of government, that I have a representative. Because when I sit down in Cordell Hull building and watch the proceedings in our state legislature, you've got an endless stream of taxpayer-funded lobbying groups from our budget. Okay, so if you do the math, $30,600 for TSBA from Sumner County. How many LEAs are there in the state of Tennessee? 95-ish, 90-something? That's millions of dollars they're getting. Same thing is true with the Sheriff's Association. Oh, I can't forget the Association of County Mayors, the Tennessee City Attorney Association. Every single one of them, look on your budget, you'll see dues and memberships. The lion's share of that money goes for memberships to these lobbying organizations. I wish somebody once would stand up for us citizens. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. All right, Mr. Taylor?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right. I'm just going to cover real quick the differences in the budget from last year to this year, just to kind of make it easy and hit the high points, and then just the associated cost. First and foremost was a 3.5% cost of living raise for all county employees. This was about $1.5 million. We had a 7% insurance increase, which ended up being about $500,000. We brought in some new employees. One is the HR director that we've discussed. They're still going through the process of trying to hire him or her. We're bringing in an additional person for E911. And just so you understand on this one, what happened was it's funded through 7 different municipalities. What they're going to do is we're going to be the main organization behind, so we're taking on the director, the GSI personnel, and the admin, and then we're in turn going to be reimbursed from the other municipalities for their portions of it. So this one's a neutral cost, but we just felt it made more sense structurally, and the board did, to have them come through the county rather than the board itself. So when you see that, no, that one's kind of a neutral one, Morse. With the sheriff, we'd made the commitment to him for 5 people for 5 years, which was what he requested in his long-term plan. This year it's 3 deputies, a detective, and a sergeant. And then there was also developmental services, paraprofessional, and then finance, we were bringing in a financial analyst, the county clerk, Mr. Kemp, another deputy clerk. And then we had 2 issues with cybersecurity, and this is the one we talked about somewhat for a while. It was the Blackguard and some of the stuff, and these are the outside agencies that are coming in. One's through IT for $126,000, one's through the sheriff for $120,000. And then there's the cyber insurance associated with it. And the main thing about this is for the ransomware kind of thing. And before we were covered up to maybe $2 million, which wouldn't have covered what we needed to if we were the victim of ransomware. Not just paying the ransom, but actually losing that data, having to redo our hardware and everything else. So Ms. Denham, Mr. Careyfield, this kind of covers us completely so that the county's in as least of an amount of risk as we're possibly going to be in there. Again, the E911 added through. Tourism is recovering some of their money, and so we've got them back up to pace along with it. And just a few things on there. The gas tax was doing a little bit better, and sales tax is doing better, but I want to remind everybody that when we talk about the general fund budget, that's property tax. Sales tax goes to the schools and to our debt services. Debt services is doing really good. Our reserves are really, really good. We're set up financially to be secure. We made sure there was other requests for other personnel that we said no to. This is what we felt best represented the needs of the county at this time and addressing it in a way that allowed the county to grow. Again, we expect the census to show us about 20, 30,000 more than what we have in a while. So that kind of just runs through. I guess we can do questions afterwards once we start discussion, but that's the high points of everything.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Taylor.
And nonprofit went from 75 to 100,000. We'll talk about that when it comes out.
Okay.
So.
All right, so let's go to the first resolution. Commissioner Taylor, would you like to take that one, 2106-01?
Yes, sir. 2106-01. This is making appropriations to nonprofit charitable organizations of Sumner County, Tennessee for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2021, ending June 30th, 2022. If you'll recall, last year we created a committee which reviewed all of them and their submissions and requests, and that committee turns around and assigns the allocated money to the nonprofits they feel best represents the needs of the county. And this doesn't include our volunteer fire and a few functions that we felt were important for government. This went from $75,000 to $100,000. I so move.
Okay. Motion made by Commissioner Chris Taylor. Second by Commissioner Nipper. Anyone in the queue? I see no one in the queue. Let's vote.
Resolution is on the board. Each commissioner, please record your vote.
Oh, I'm paying attention.
23 votes are entered. Does anyone, all 24 votes are entered. Anyone wish to change your vote? 24 affirmative votes. It is unanimously approved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Kemp. I would like to take a moment, Mr. Witt, I think that Mr. Witt has come up with a masterful way to divvy out the money that's equitable and fair and does a lot of things we talked about for many years. So, Mr. Witt and your committee, I'd like to thank y'all for the work that you did on this process. Thank you. All right.
Yes, sir. 2106-02, making appropriations for the various funds, departments, institutions, offices, and agencies of Sumner County, Tennessee, fiscal year beginning July 1, 2021, ending in June 30th, 2022. And that was the one I just discussed. I so move.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Chris Taylor, second by Commissioner Stewart. Mr. Mansfield.
Yes, sir. I want to move to sever the budgets.
Okay, motion made to sever the budgets by Mr. Mansfield, second by Commissioner Mo Taylor. So a yes vote on this resolution will split the budgets into their individual components, would cleave the Sheriff's Department budget, the education budget, would separate them out into individual. We have to consider them one at a time. So a yes vote for this motion will do that. A no vote will keep our budgets together. So let's vote. Hey, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm sorry, Mr. Taylor. Hang on 1 second, Commissioner Taylor. We're getting your mic up. Here you go.
This isn't something new, and the separation of budgets the way they were typically done in the past, and I will defer to the past commission chairman. You voted on county general, then you voted on schools.
Yes, sir.
So it wasn't individually.
Okay, I'm sorry.
But let me go. I'm glad
Sure.
you mentioned that, because this is what the reason I'm commenting is I've had a lot of people ask me to vote to separate the budgets. That way, because I think the state law was changed a couple of years ago where you don't even have to declare a conflict of interest if you're voting on your own budget. Is that right? So they've asked me to, if these budgets are separated, you have to declare that conflict. According to the County Commissioners Association,
Hang on, go ahead and finish, Mr. Taylor, and then I'll ask Ms. Denning to clarify.
according to what the County Commissioner Association chairman said, and also my state representative. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But the point of the matter being is, if you're voting on your own budget, people want you to declare your conflict of interest. I mean, that's just the way it should be done.
Hang on, go ahead, Mr. Taylor.
And that's why I support this. And if it's not done that way, I will do like I did last year and file a formal objection to the process. And I will be talking to my state representative again about it. So, because if I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
Okay.
But I've been given incorrect information.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Go ahead, Ms. Denning. Did you want to clarify?
When the law was amended a couple of years ago to take out the conflict and indirect conflict, the indirect conflict piece completely left. What is left is only a direct conflict. And simply because someone works for the Board of Education or works for the Sheriff's Office, they do not have a direct conflict with the entire budget. And we saw a classic example of it several months ago when we got CARES Act money that was to go to Sumner School.
Summer learning.
Summer learning. And Commissioner Ring, I'll point you out, apologize for using your name, Commissioner, thought he was going to be teaching one of those classes. That would have been a direct conflict because it was appropriating money that he would have been paid. So that's the position that the state has always taken. That's been the position the AG's opinions have taken. I'm not aware of anything else.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Mr. Hinton, are you on the sever motion, or are you on the general budget? Okay. Go ahead.
Everybody probably knows the answer to this question but me. When you're talking about separating budgets, you're talking about separating schools and the rest.
Yes, sir.
Two divisions, right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Hinton. All right. Commissioner Taylor, I got you back in the queue. Is that the main? Okay. I'm sorry. All right. So a yes vote is to sever the budgets. A no vote is to continue as listed in our agenda.
motion to amend, to sever the budgets is on the board. Each commissioner, please record your vote. All 24 votes are entered. Does anyone wish to change your vote? With 8 affirmative votes, the amendment fails to carry.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kemp. Motion fails. Back to the main budget, Commissioner Taylor. Or excuse me, to 2106-02. I'm sorry, let me clarify that. Go ahead, Mr. Taylor.
Yes, sir. I appreciate the time that the budget committee and everybody put into this year's budget. Thank you. I would say that this, I would appreciate it if it had been recorded, so, you know, a lot of these questions I might not have had. No, that's okay.
Let's let him finish. And then.
The penny is growing in this county. Is that, I mean, that's, and I believe it's an inflated value somewhat, but it's growing. $645,715 is what a penny's worth on your tax rate. I get people ask me all the time how much of our budget, how much of our revenues goes to county general and how much goes to schools. Based on my math and figuring somewhere between 75% of our revenues go to schools with property taxes, income tax, and debt. So basically county general and debt, that's the two biggest categories. Concerning to me in this budget also is we have a big project going on over on the square. And once again, litigation taxes are down in every category that, well, I think every category. Property taxes is up. Collections, that's good. That's how we fund a lot of things. $5,981,410. Divide that by the value of the penny, that's 9.2 cents on the property tax rate. So where I have some concerns is the spending. And also some of the budgeted income that we're budgeting for next year. A 48% increase in adequate facilities tax budgeted. A $1 million increase. That's the 48% increase. That's budgeted. That's saying we're going to collect that much money. A $259,000 increase in building permits and planning. I know a lot of that's where we took over some of the planning regions. I know where some of that come from, but that concerns me. I have a few amendments to the budget. I just hit some highlights so that I want to make sure that people understand when we go talk about taxes and taxes increases. There's departments that are getting, let's see, anywhere from, the lows I didn't mention, but over 10%, 12% increases in their budget. I mean, one of the alarming ones to me that we didn't always have was a consolidated dispatch from the 18-19 budget year, $3,016,000. I'm sorry, that was this year's. They've increased $1.5 million since the 18-19 budget year. That's a 35.6% increase. We can't keep doing that. We can't keep raising these budgets like this and not having to go back and ask the property owners for more taxes. We can't do it. I did have a question on this, and I looked, I dug, I tried to do my homework so I didn't have to ask a lot of questions. The Comer barn is mentioned on page 79 of the packet.
Of what, I'm sorry?
Page 79.
Yes, sir.
The Comer barn is mentioned, but the way that funding is being distributed or if the new funding, is there new funding in this budget for the Comer barn?
I don't think so. No. It's just what was previously allocated this year.
Okay. And, you know, I don't want to pick on nobody, so I'm not going to call anybody by name or anything, because that violates our rules, and you'll have to call me out of order. But we've increased some people's pay. I mean, 17.5%. I mean, that's a big pay raise, and not just one. There's more than one. So to talk about that a little, and you know, the sever the budget to do the schools. In this budget that was presented to us to vote on tonight, that's all we can do is vote it up or down. Can't change the school's budget.
Right.
But there's $3.4 million unbudgeted in their budget. Using the pennies that I talked about earlier, that's 5.32 cents on our current tax rate. 5.3 cents. Some things I think that we looked over in this budget. To do another point of clarification while I'm standing up here, because a lot of people's asked me, of course, emission testing, you know, that's not in this budget, but it kind of is a little, because it's in the revenues that the clerk receives. $1 is all we get for emission testing. So I want that for the public to see and the public to know we're not making money on emission testing. So that's put that out there for everybody's benefit. Everybody's sitting here. $1. So that's, from what I gather, that's probably $150,000. And if I'm wrong, Mr. Kemp be more than glad to correct me.
He said a little bit less than that, but close.
Yeah, well, like 148. I rounded up. But one thing that he does collect that's a large part of that is the wheel tax. To clarify something else, county general doesn't. The highway department gets $15 of the wheel tax. $15. 35 of that goes to the schools. So $15 to pave all the roads in Sumner County. Mr. Hyde, the senior commissioner from the 8th District and a couple others are sitting here maybe when that was done. I don't know if they go back that far or not, and no disrespect, but that was one of them, supposed to be a one-time thing, but it just keeps on giving us year after year. So, left out of this year's budget, anybody guess? Water. Any funding for water. I was told, I had ad hoc committee meetings. I've done everything I know to do. You know, and here's what bothers me. And here's what I have to explain to people that doesn't have water. Pull in the parking lot tonight, and you know, I'm all about us getting things to benefit the county. But you pull in the parking lot tonight and there's flashing lights sitting out there.
One clarification, sir.
Yes.
Mr. Taylor, were you not explaining to Mr. Long in the conversation you had when you submitted $5.2 million that it was removed from the budget because we have federal funds that we're going to cover some of the...
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Hey, hang on.
I was just saying, you said you
All right.
told there was no reason why it was pulled out. You were given the reason.
All right, point of order is made. Go ahead and continue, Mr. Taylor.
That was unnecessary. If he would let me finish, I would get to where I was going with that.
Okay.
What point did I violate? What rule did I violate?
I'm saying go ahead. He's out of order. You go ahead.
But he got to go ahead. When I called a point of order on him for interrupting me.
And I asked him to stop.
No, you let him finish.
Continue or sit down, Mr. Taylor. It's your choice.
I'm going to continue.
Okay, well then continue and stop arguing.
So, water. Now I'm good and ticked off. Let's talk about it. You know, people don't understand. You know, just like I said, the bus out here. You know, it's hard to explain we spend over $1 million. I know it's COVID money. COVID money could have been spent on water as well. So that's what you have to explain when you're living in some of these districts. I mean, the county goes and spends all this money on this, or all this money on an old barn. That's what we have to explain when we represent these areas. That's what we have to do. Excuse me. So I move to add $4.5 million from the hospital
Okay?
funds.
A motion
I'm
to,
not done.
I'm trying to listen to you. Mr. Mansfield, second you. I'm sorry, I thought you were
Yeah,
done. Go
well, I'm
ahead.
not done with my motion, so
Okay.
I appreciate it. $1.5 million, and I can do more than one motion, ever how you would like me to do it, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead. If you've got it all written down, go ahead. It's your choice.
Okay. Well, I want to move $4.5 million from the hospital funds to be allocated for the direction of the Waterline Ad Hoc Committee to assist with the city's out in different areas of their service areas, they're having trouble with pressure. So to assist in a grant from the county to the cities, ever how we want to do it, we can work out the details later. But that would go to the Waterline Committee and then go through budget.
Okay. All right. So were you going to add to that, Mr. Taylor? Or-
That's all on the water line.
Okay. So I've got a motion to move $4.5 million from the hospital fund for the Waterline Ad Hoc Committee to allocate or to propose allocation to come through the Budget Committee. Is there a second? Second. Okay. Seconded by Commissioner Mansfield. I've got Mr. Hinton, Mr. Becker, Mr. Mansfield, Mr. Tinsley in the queue. Do any of you wish to speak to this amendment? Yes, Mr. Tinsley.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. I've sat up here for a couple of years now listening about water lines in Westmoreland. And I've asked this question to many other people, but I've never really got a direct answer. So I figured since we're all just going to sit here and talk about water lines, I would like to get the information. I know that in the past, our county has spent some money on water lines in Westmoreland. Was there, what kind of connectivity do we have? Because I know we can lay the lines, but it's my understanding that it costs the homeowner X amount of dollars to connect their house into that water line. Is that correct?
That's correct, Mr. Tinsley, and I could be wrong, but my understanding is because we can't get that information because it's the proprietary information of the utility district.
Right, but it's my understanding that this isn't like a $200 connection fee. This is a several $1,000 connection fee. Is that correct? So not that I'm against water lines for Westmoreland or for Hendersonville or where have you, but if we are just spending money laying pipes where the people are financially disappropriated from connecting to them, shouldn't we be addressing all of the issues instead of just laying the pipe?
Hang on one second. Hang on one second. Okay. Mr. Tinsley, we think if it's low income, there's grant money available for people to connect if they have low income.
So if we are spending money laying these pipes, then there are people being connected to them.
The potentiality to connect is there.
Okay.
I don't have any, I don't think, Mr. Taylor, unless you know, do you have an idea of the connectivity rates? Okay, would you like to share that?
And it varies from road to road because you get like on a.
Hang on one second. I'm sorry, Mr. Taylor. Yes, we can. Okay, go ahead.
If you get on a road like Herschel Isles Road where you've got like, let's say 30 houses and 27 of them connects, you get a high percentage of connectivity. But you get on another road like Pleasant Grove Road where it's 4 or 5 miles long and 150 houses and, 60 of them connect. It varies. And it's dips and peaks and valleys. And there's no fees when they are low to moderate income, unless there's like maybe a tap or a deposit, something like that, that utility charges. We don't have anything to do with that. It's, you know, when we go through the GNRC, they tell us and the cities tell us kind of what and who. I mean, I requested who was low to moderate income last time and got denied.
Yeah, I'm not shocked that they wouldn't share that information legally. Okay, Mr. Tinsley, does that answer your question? Yeah, for the most part. Okay, all right, thank you, Mr. Tinsley. Mr. Hinton, are you, okay? Mr. Becker, okay? Mr. Mansfield, are you on Commissioner Taylor's motion or the main?
No, sorry, sir, main.
Okay, Commissioner Ring?
Yes, I just have a question for the attorney.
Hang on one second. There you go. Go ahead.
Okay,
Go ahead.
thank you. I'm sorry, I just have a question for the attorney. Can we give the cities or other water districts money to fix up improve their lines? I'm assuming that's what this is about.
That, I don't know, because the utility districts are set up differently.
Because some of them are public and some of them are semi-private,
Quasi.
I guess. Yeah, quasi-private, so that's my question. Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. Ms. Kruger, were you on Commissioner Taylor's resolution or amendment or on the main motion?
Yes, I was going to ask a similar question. What is the actual percentage rate of people that are connecting to the water lines?
Yeah, I don't think we have an actual hard number on the connectivity rate.
Okay.
Because of as Ms. Denon mentioned, it's a collection of different utility districts and it's a pretty large expanse of land.
Okay.
Mr. Sullivan, are you on the, okay, go ahead.
Utility district in District 1 have the capability to service those homes once they're added to the line, water pressure wise?
Okay, good, Mr. Taylor.
Commissioner Chairman, or Chairman Mo Taylor did a fantastic job on that subcommittee. The first thing he did when we met was he had all the utility districts come in and explain what they could and couldn't do. Westmoreland was one. They get their water from Gallatin. They get 750,000 gallons a day. They need 1 million to be able to upgrade to anything. Right now, Gallatin will not give them 1 million. So at this time, they wouldn't be able to accept any money for any type of improvements on their as far as adding water lines to existing locations. White House Portland talked to us, and they explained that they needed 2 to 3 million infrastructure money, and that was just for their pumps to be able to push it out. They had about 224 homes, if I remember right, that they could reach out to. But again, they would need a large investment and then a long time to redo what they had as far as the pumping stations. The only one that possibly could have used some of it was Castilian Springs. Mr. Graves, I'm confident, can expand a lot better than I could on that one. But it was kind of an odd spot where they really couldn't use money this year. Not to say they can't, and not to say we can't work with them to figure it out, but there wasn't any of them that could necessarily say, hey, today, if we gave them 2 million, 3 million, whatever it might be, they could immediately use it. They would have to go out and do the study, what Commissioner Taylor's talking about, where you've got to find out how many people actually eligible for it, want it, and some other things. But no, sir, they couldn't use any of it right now because they don't have the existing infrastructure.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Taylor. Mr. Holt, did you want to speak on this? Or Mayor Holt, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll make it brief. I think Commissioner Taylor hit on a lot of the subject. The problem is, and I had a conversation earlier with the Commissioner, there's lack of available water. There's lack of infrastructure as far as water towers and other essential infrastructure for pressure. I do know that the Corps of Engineers has finally lifted the moratorium on withdrawals from the Cumberland River / Old Hickory Lake, and the 3 entities of Westmoreland, Castilian Springs, and Portland is now talking to the Corps. That would solve a lot of the problems, is to have a treatment plant for water so they would have enough capacity, and then you're going to have some other issues like water towers to give them pressure and other things. So it's a very complicated issue, and I do believe if you just pushed the money out for water lines today, you wouldn't have any pressure. You wouldn't have available water to pump out. So I think this is something that needs to be really looked at. We do have some recovery money that's available, and there needs to be some real thought and discussion before we just willy-nilly push money out without a good plan so we can service those areas. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor Holt. Commissioner Taylor, you're back in the queue. Let me go to Commissioner Graves because he just jumped in. He hasn't spoken yet, and I'll come to you. Go ahead, Commissioner Graves.
I just want to say, I'm not sure if we're talking about people that don't have water or upgrading their lines, the infrastructure. That's just, I don't know if anybody here could answer that for sure, but have purchased 9.4 acres out in the Cairo area. And we're going to file I say Castaic and Bethpage, and I'm not sure if anybody else will be in that group or not, probably, but we're purchasing that land so we can file an application with the Corps of Engineers and TDEC and some other committees that you have to go through. It's a big process. It's not going to be next week when you get a permit. You got to follow all the rules. First of all, you got to have land. And fortunately for Castaic and Bethpage, we the ones that got the river in our district. Not saying anything bad or good. It would good for us, I guess. But it's going to be a long process. Our infrastructure is in pretty good shape for us now. Up on the Mount Vernon Road, anybody knows where Mount Vernon is, up in Oak Grove area. Not only us, that area, we got low pressure because we have to pump it up the hill to start with. And we'll need some more. We're in the process of looking at building a tank now up in that area to help our pressure problem. Also, another thing that we can do through this, we can require as a utility for the homeowner or developer maybe as to put an inline pump into their houses. That will help our situation. I actually had one in my other house before I sold it, and it's an inline pump, and I had 40 pound, 2,000 feet off the road. I had upstairs to that house. I didn't have no more water than a lead pencil. So that was my choice. I had to do is put that in line pump in, and I got it up to 80, 90 pounds, but I run it about 60 pounds. So I'd have water upstairs. That you got to have that main line come into your house bigger to have that volume to make that pump work right too also. But I'll get back on just a second about the water treatment plant. We'll be filing the application through our engineers, and I'm asking help from this county commission and the county mayor to help us through this process. And maybe some other utilities and cities involved in it too. But we couldn't wait no longer to buy this land, so we had the opportunity to buy the land ourselves. It could be a regional water plant there. Mm-hmm. It'll be enough to take a lot of money. Mm-hmm. Just say we had all three of us, it'd probably cost $60 million of what we're looking at. That's for the regional water plant. Now, if we built one for maybe us and supplied Westmoreland and Portland wanted just us, maybe a contract for long term to sell them water, we could probably do that for $25, $30 million. Mm-hmm. So, but I'm asking the county commission for help in this process. Of course, we're dealing with the Corps, TDEC. So
maybe it'll be faster than emissions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Graves. We hope it's way faster than emissions. Mr. Becker, and then Mr. Time coming to you. He got in the queue now.
Yeah. Now, I was just curious. What I know in the past on some water lines, we've written grants and so forth. But and I know there's been discussions about getting in line for that next cycle. Can someone help refresh my memory of what is that cycle? Are are we currently in that process, or?
Mr. Long, could you give us an update on where we are on that grant program? On the, or Mayor Holt, on the water line grants that we've received in the past?
Mr. Lawing doesn't get involved in grants.
Okay, I'm sorry.
He takes care of the money. Yes, sir. The CDBG water grant is what you're probably asking about. I believe we are right at the end of closing that out. You have to close one grant cycle out before you can apply for a new grant cycle, but it's very competitive. Everything's in flux right now. The county, our portion of the Improve Act is about $37 million. The state's getting about $4 billion. And between broadband, water, sewer, we haven't got any direction of where they're going. They're in the same situation we are. They've got to spend that money in a very restricted way. So they're going to be pushing out a lot of grants, and we don't know what the details of those are, Mr. Becker. We do know that we've received about, half of that money? And we'll get the other half later on, our apportionment, which is a direct allocation for the federal government, just like the state. But we have until December of 2024 to obligate that money. So we've still got a while, and the state's in the same situation, and then we have 2 years after the obligation to spend all that down, if that answers your question. Kind of a big unknown.
All right.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Schultz. Mr. Becker?
No, yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Becker. Commissioner Mo Taylor.
My intention of this wasn't to willy-nilly nothing, to counter on that remark. I think I tried, maybe I didn't explain myself well enough on what my intentions were. My intentions was to set aside the money for water lines, to go back to the water line ad hoc committee to start, just like we had the utility districts in here. Then it would have to go back to the budget committee. Then it would have to come back to the full commission for it's allocated. So we did go through that process. We got a lot of questions, answers, and everything. And the goal of the last when we were having the water line ad hoc committee was to apply for the grant that you was referring to. We didn't get everything done to be able to meet the deadline, like he said, to close out and all that. So the match money, you know, I didn't say that we wouldn't use none of this money for match money to apply for CDBG grants. It's water line money. It was whatever, you know, to help eradicate the problem in 2021 of people not having access to water. And you know, and I won't speak a lot on that, but we got a former vice principal who had great water. His well turned over. Now he goes and hauls water every day in Westmoreland. Vice principal, retired. I could tell you 100 of those stories, but I won't. But in the meetings that we had, there is some capacity to take on from some of the utilities in certain areas, because you can loop a line. What that means is it goes down one road and stops, goes down another road and stops, and then you got another road. So if you loop that line, you got your water flowing in a circle, because it costs you money when you have a dead end on the water line. You have to blow the lines off every so often because of the chlorine levels and different tests that's run on the line. So this wasn't, you know, I wasn't just trying to throw money at something without a procedure and a process. So if that's what you think, you didn't understand my point. Okay. Also, the participation rate and all that is, you know, the worst areas is where we typically try to go, so the higher the participation. You know, that is like predicting the outcome of anything you don't know. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. All right, Maine, okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Mr. Becker.
So sorry, so just real quick. So of the CARES, I think it's the CARES money, I think, was just mentioned there's $37 million headed our way, and maybe we got half of it. I would be more in favor of $4.5 million, the amendment that's being discussed, coming from that $37 million bucket versus the hospital fund. Is that something we can do tonight? Like, can I amend the amendment?
We can't, I don't think, Mr. Becker, we can't do that tonight because that's an application process that we have to get approved. Mr. Holt, Mayor Holt, is that correct? Like, we've got the money, but we can't allocate it until we have a plan that gets approved by the commission and then approved by, is it the state or is it directly to the feds, Mayor Holt?
Direct allocation for the federal government, unless we give our money back to the state.
Right, okay.
We have to answer to the federal government, and we have to document.
So, Mr. Becker, I think, like, correct me if I'm wrong, what we would have to do is we'd have to pass a plan through the commission, but it would have to meet the requirements of the federal rules on the money. And if it didn't, then they would reject it, and we'd have to cover it out of local funds. But so you've got to make sure that it meets. But water, sewer, broadband internet, you know, there are about 5 or 6 different buckets that it can go in, but one of the largest buckets is water, sewer,
so that would fall
broadband
into
internet.
that. So the allocation of that money, whenever that happens, will the full commission be involved in that decision?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
Yes, sir.
So I would be in favor of going that route, so that's just my comment.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Becker. I see no one else in the queue on Commissioner Taylor's. Oh, Mr. Hinton, I'm sorry. I thought you were on the main. I'm sorry. Mr. Hinton.
Now I want to be on the other.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Hinton.
I'd like to amend the motion to remove the part about using hospital money.
Okay. Mr. Hinton, we have to have a funding source for the budget. Ms. Dennon's telling me.
Sometimes we send things back to the budget committee without a funding source.
Are you making a motion to refer the amendment to budget?
Yes.
Okay.
Part of his motion was to send it to budget, and for them to look at hospital money for the funding. And my amendment is refer it to budget without the stipulation of hospital money.
Okay, I think Commissioner Taylor's motion was to allocate directly $4.5 million to go through that process, but you're saying work it the other way. You want to refer his amendment to budget?
Yes, I think water lines ought to continue to be explored to the best of our ability. I'm just not comfortable with the
hospital fund.
With hospital money.
Okay. All right. Motion made by Commissioner Hinton to refer Commissioner Taylor's amendment to the Budget Committee for further study. Is there a second? Commissioner Goode with the second. All right. Let's vote on the amendment. This amendment would refer Commissioner Taylor's amendment on $4.5 million for water lines for the ad hoc committee to explore. Would refer that to Budget Committee. Yes, sir. Okay.
Of the water line that he talked about wrapping up back, let's see, we were notified from the state, the earliest we was ever notified, in July of 2018 that we received the grant. So July of 2018, we got the grant that we're working on now. The governor put out, who was, so to drag our feet, to take longer and longer. I mean, we did a resolution. Can you imagine a day without water? We did that here.
Okay. Mr. Taylor, I think you made your point on that
So,
a couple times.
thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. All right. So a yes vote is to refer this amendment to the Budget Committee. A no vote is to continue to debate on Mr. Taylor's amendment.
Motion to refer is on the board. Each commissioner, please record your vote. "23 votes are entered. All 24 votes are entered. Does anyone wish to change your vote? With 16 affirmative votes, motion to refer carries. We're back on the main motion.
Okay. Mr. Mansfield, I have you, I know there were several that were in the queue. If you'll go ahead and jump back in the queue if you had something on the main budget, but Mr. Mansfield, go ahead.
I wasn't done for my original.
Okay. Go ahead, Commissioner Taylor. You're right. Mr. Mansfield, can you queue back in?
I turned Mr. Mansfield off.
Okay, if you can jump back in, Mr. Mansfield. There you go.
I get calls, and you know, I'm working on people's behalf tonight. I get calls all the time about our roads and stuff, potholes, Mr. Gray, I'm sorry, potholes. So I got a couple things. I'm going to move to reallocate $7 from the wheel tax to the highway department. So that would make their total $22.
Can't do that on it. We.
It's a two-thirds vote and a potential for, that's all.
Second. All right.
Plus it's done by referendum.
Yeah, that's done by referendum, Mr. Taylor. That's out of order. We can't have that motion.
Okay. Well, I tried. I want to remove from the county commission line item the donations.
Second.
And
hang on, I'm going to need a little more clarity on that, Mr. Taylor.
or not donations, memberships and fees and that we pay to these lobbyists.
All right, motion to remove any memberships and fees from the budget made by Commissioner Taylor, seconded by Commissioner Mansfield. Does anyone wish to speak on, let me go to Commissioner Tinsley and then I'll go to you, Mr. Becker. Go ahead, Mr. Tinsley.
That we use this money along with many other forms of government. We pay lobbyists along with private organizations. Everybody pays lobbyists to go to the state house and the state senate and then the national congress and the national senate to lobby on our behalf. And it's very irritating to me that I have sat here tonight and heard from not only members of our commission but members of the public who have just attacked the Sheriff's Association having lobbyists at our state capitol in a time where many cities and counties across the country are talking about defunding the police and taking money from our police organizations. We need to have a strong Sheriff's Association in Nashville fighting on behalf of our Sheriff's Department. I think this is an absolutely ludicrous idea that's just being done for political posturing, and I think we need to
let's back off that just a little bit, Mr. Tinsley.
Okay, I'll be done then.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Tinsley. Mr. Becker.
So just clarification of what the motion is this to remove all membership fees or just this one specific category or one specific line item? What exactly is the motion?
Okay, all right, so. Okay, all right, go ahead, Mr. Taylor, I'm sorry. County Commissioners Association, is that okay, Mr. Mansfield? Okay, all right, let me clarify after consulting with the law director, just informational purposes, what she just informed me is that the County Commissioner Association is not just lobbying services, it's also like hours for new members. There are other services that are included in that other than lobbying the state legislature. Just wanted to clarify that. Mayor Holt.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, that I had to get up and speak, but let me, I really don't think you are thinking this through if you vote for this. Let me tell you why. I know how valuable these associations are. I'll just use the County Mayors Association. County Commission Association, same thing, but let me give you a little recent history of what we lobbied for. There is internet sales tax. Those sales taxes, if the county mayors had not been involved, would have been distributed. People had to pay them anyway, state law. They would have been distributed under the old model. The old model of distributing sales tax was based on brick and mortar stores. But the state law states that the sales tax is to be distributed by the point of sale or point of origin. That being the case, most people who shop out of their homes when they shop online. We brought that to the attention of our legislators. They changed the distribution, and now the counties are collecting their fair share. If we hadn't have done that, that would have could have necessitated a tax increase because we weren't collecting our fair share. That's how important these organizations are to make sure that the state legislators know when they pass law, they're not passing an unfunded mandate, because it's so much easier to pass a regulation and then require local government to collect a fee or provide a service, and there's no cost to a state level. So I think it's very short-sighted, whether it's the Sheriff's Association, the County Mayor's Association, the County Commission Association, just to say we're not going to fund that and not be part of local government. Because I can understand, and I think our commissioner that previously spoke was correct. It is so important that we support law enforcement and the duties of our commission and what we do on a local level. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Holt. Ms. Kruger.
Sorry, I was still in.
Are you on the main?
Training. I was going to ask, doesn't that include the training and all those things?
Yeah, it does. Okay, Commissioner Ring.
Thank you, sir. I believe that what we get in return from these different organizations is way more than what we are spending on them. The attorney mentioned the training. If we did not belong to the County Commission Association, we would be required to pay a fee for training our new commissioners, which is required by state law. They can get a lot better deal on things because of their volume than we could if we were to do it ourselves. When they are lobbying on our behalf as a county commission or county mayors or county sheriffs, they're lobbying on the behalf of the citizens of Sumner County, because the things that benefit Sumner County coming out of the state legislature from these organizations are immense. So I would oppose getting out of any of these organizations. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ring. Mr. Hyde. That's right.
Mr. Chairman, I don't know if what I'm going to say would be appropriate or not, but I can see both sides of this issue, and I would like to propose that we do away with the, what was the amount, 34? How much?
37,500, I believe, Mr. Hyde.
I would propose that we deduct the 37,000 from the total amount that we are paid as a body. Divide that out, pay it, and then we get paid the remainder. We're getting paid $500 if it's $400, $300, $200, whatever, but that the money come from our salary.
Okay.
Over to that.
Okay, is that an amendment, Mr. Hyde?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Hinton seconds that. So, all right, so the amendment on the floor is to, Mr. Hyde, let me make sure I got this correctly, would be to take out of our salary line for the county commission the $37,500 for the County Commissioner Association, and then divide that up equally among all the commissioners. Is that correct? Okay. All right. Motion's been made and seconded. I see no one in the queue wishing to speak on that amendment. Did you want to? Go ahead, Mr. Taylor.
I just want to clarify that that's...
Hang on, let me let him go, and then I'll come to you, Mr. Taylor.
That kind of, you can't take it from somebody if you're trying to do away with it.
No, I think what Mr. Hyde's, oh, I see what you're saying. It's an improper amendment because you're trying to do away with the money.
Yes.
Okay, I think, Mr. Hyde, I think you would have to make that separate after we vote on Mr. Taylor's, because what he's saying is take the 37,000, his motion or his amendment is to take it out completely, not to distribute it. And I'm getting that the maker of the motion does not want to do that.
No.
Okay?
If you divide 37,500 by 24, it's $1,562.50 per person, so you have to give us a raise to take away.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to have to rule, Mr. Hyde, I'm going to have to rule your amendment out of order right now, but you can bring it back up at a later time if you'd like. Okay, thank you, Mr. Hyde. All right, so I see no one else in the queue, so we're going to vote on Commissioner Taylor's amendment, but let me clarify because we've been through the woods a little bit. So Mr. Taylor's amendment is to remove the membership and fee money for the County Commissioners Association. It's an amount of about $37,500 to remove that from the budget. A yes vote on this amendment is to remove that from the budget. A no vote is to retain back to the main motion.
The amendment's on the board. Each commissioner, please record your vote. $23 votes, all 24 votes are entered. Does anyone wish to change your vote? With 3 affirmative votes, the amendment fails to carry.
Okay? All right. Commissioner Taylor, were you done? Okay. All right. Commissioner Mansfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just had a couple of questions and a couple of amendments. I'll just start first with my question. On the hospital funds, I was just curious, what was the, I think it's like $289,000 being pulled out this year? What was that going towards? Does anybody know?
Let me go to Commissioner Chris Taylor.
What happens is each year, the interest from the hospital fund is used to support Forward Sumner. It shouldn't be $289,000. David can kind of clarify the exact number on that, but the interest is used for that, and then that's really about the only fee it comes from. I'll go ahead, David.
Earlier in the year, the $250,000 from the Calmer barn was allocated to local for the match. There was $250 from the $250 match came from the hospital, so that would be the Calmer barn plus interest revenue plus interest revenue minus the Calmer barn and minus Ford Sumner. That's why it came to $289.
So are you saying this $289 includes the Comer barn funding right now?
The one that was approved during the year, that's why it would come out.
It hasn't been spent yet, Jeremy.
Hasn't been spent, but we show it's spent, and then we'll go back and allocate it next year if it's not used.
But as
So
far
it
as
would
new
have to
money
come out of
coming
there.
from, the only new money coming from the hospital fund is the interest, which supports Forward Sumner as a revenue source.
So if you take last year's reserves, you would add in interest, and you would subtract out the Calmer barn, and you'd subtract out Ford Sumner.
Okay, I want to, first motion to amend this. I'd like to strike the portion for the Comer barn out of this if I'm able to. You have to tell me.
Okay, you can't do that, Mr. Mansfield, because that's been already allocated.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair
You
enough.
could make a separate motion. You'd have to add it to the agenda, but that would have to be outside this budget resolution.
Understood. That's why I was curious. Second question I have relates to our debt. Can you tell me what the total debt payment is for next year?
It's actually in the budget.
Yeah, could you tell me what page that's on? I wasn't sure. I know our outstanding debt, principal and interest, is approximately $411 million, according to the tables on 108, but I wasn't sure what that payment break. So is that going to be, $36 million, or roughly, approximately?
Yes.
Is that accurate?
Yes.
Hang on one second. Hang on. Let me get you.
Yes,
Good.
sir.
Okay, that answers that question for me. Thank you. I just wasn't sure about that. Can you, on page 19 of the budget, as far as the 2020-2021 leftover coronavirus relief funds of $2.8 million and $1 million respectively, I know that's not in the budget this year. Back in September and October, we voted to allocate portions of the total amount of those funds, and there was quite a bit left over. Can you tell me where the balance left over from September and October's CARES grants, when we passed those, I don't know if this is the total amount that was left over. This is the total amount we voted on page 19.
The actual balance was to be used for one of two things, capital projects or to unassigned fund balance, and it went to unassigned fund balance.
Okay, so that's where that was
Yes.
pulled out for this year. Okay, thank
For
you.
last year. That was or the 2021 year, yes, this year.
Okay, but that's showing up in the unassigned fund balance for this year.
For the year that's ending right now.
Okay. Thank you. Some amendments I wanted to also have dealt with our county commission line items as well. There's something, just looking that over a little bit more, on page 25 of our budget. I know this was in there previous years, but it pulled out, but I see that looks like we're getting a raise as county commissioners. I did want to strike that from, as an amendment, strike that from the budget this year, us getting a raise.
Second.
Okay. Motion made by Commissioner Mansfield to strike a raise for the county commission, seconded by Commissioner Mo Taylor. Okay. Let's, we can vote on that. And Mr. Becker, did you want to speak on that, or are you on the main? Okay. All right, so a yes vote is to strike raise from the budget. A no vote is to keep it there, continue on debate on the main budget resolution. Yeah, we're ready.
All right, the amendment is on the board. Each commissioner, please record your vote. With 11 affirmative votes, amendment fails to carry.
Okay, Mr. Mansfield, the amendment failed. Back to you.
Okay. I was going to address commissioner travel. I know this basically went from $0 up to $10,000, and I don't know anybody who's traveling. I don't know what that's for, so I moved to strike commissioner travel budget of $10,000 from the budget from the commissioners.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right, Commissioner Chris Taylor, hit your mic there. Mr. Taylor. It's going to freeze on Mr. Becker here in a second.
I've got that hand burned a couple times. Yes, sir. We included $10,000 because what happened is because there's additional training that's being required by state law, right now, most of it can be done virtually. At some point, we have to do it where someone has to travel. We wouldn't be able to, we would have to call a special session to pay for them to be able to travel to go do their training. This is $10,000 that's set aside if commissioners need to travel related to their training. If they don't, it just stays in there and it'll carry over and we won't use it. But it was just it was a preemptive move to make sure that if y'all had to do it, anybody had to do it, that the funds were there available and we'd go through the regular process the county uses to request travel, car, that kind of thing for reimbursement. That's it.
All right, see no one else in the queue. A yes vote is to strike the travel budget of $10,000 out of the budget. A no vote is to, for the amendment to fail and continue on the main resolution.
Amendments on the board. Each commissioner, please record your vote. All 24 votes are entered. Does anyone wish to change your vote? With 5 affirmative votes, fails to carry.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kemp. Mr. Mansfield?
That's all, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mansfield. Mr. Becker?
All right, I've got a couple questions on the school budget. I think, well, I'll just ask my questions. I guess my first question is, did the teachers, and I don't really know what a step equates to, but did the teachers get essentially, or did all staff, certified and classified, get the same 3.5?
No, sir.
No.
What'd they get?
About 2.
Okay, that's what.
A step works out to right about 2, but if you remember before COVID, we did the pay increase for teachers.
Yeah. Okay. So so 2's in here. Okay. Appreciate that. And then my next question is really surrounding the reserves. It looks like, if I'm reading correctly, fiscal year 1920, there was 48, almost $49 million in the school budget reserves. And then last year was a little over 40 million. And then this year it's back up to just a little over 50 million. A big portion of that was a line item that says it's committed for education. It goes from 6 million to 15 million. And I was just curious, and I watched the budget education joint committee meeting on YouTube. I wasn't really clear and exactly, I couldn't understand or couldn't understand what's the need for that to go from 6 million to 15 million.
So we can, if we want to suspend the rules, we can ask Dr. Phillips to speak on it. Without objection. Okay.
It was a little hard to hear back there. Can you say the question again?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah, on the reserves, they're going from basically 40 million to 50 million. Pretty much the chunk of that is the line item that says committed for education. It goes from 6 million, it went from 0 to 6 last year, 0 to 6 million last year, and then this year it's 6 million to 15 million. So I was just trying to understand what is that line item? What is that? Why does it need to be 15?
So I don't necessarily know that it needs to be 15. What we looked at last year was the first year in the county that we budgeted, because we were budgeting at the front end of the pandemic. So we budgeted less local tax revenue, actually a little bit less than the previous year, which is the first time that's happened in a long, long time. We were fortunate in the county and the schools, in the sense that as we progressed through this fiscal year, our sales tax revenue and our collectability on property tax both way exceeded what we had budgeted, which is good. We were very conservative last year as we built this budget, both the schools and the county. So the dollars that we collected and received this fiscal year, we placed those in the restricted for education fund balance.
Okay. So that's, okay, so if I understand you right, so the additional revenue we weren't necessarily expecting, it's now in this budget under that restricted for education.
That's correct.
Line items from reserve, okay. Okay. Okay, and is there, I guess, may I ask more questions since he's here? I know there's some reserves that are, required by state law. I can't remember, I don't know the calculation, but there's some calculation that you were explaining. Is the total amount of reserves, is there a calculation that you use of what you think that would needs to be, if that makes any sense?
No, I think it's just really dependent on a couple of factors. One, the uncertainty or the volatility within the economy. So we're still, hopefully we'll have another good year this year, but there's still a lot of unknowns out there, especially in our budget where, the day after we approved the budget last year, the state sent us a $3 million reduction in BEP. I think I mentioned that the following month here. So I think it's smart from a financial perspective to make sure that you have enough fund balance to weather those types of things that might change, certainly within a 12-month window of time. So I don't know that there's necessarily a magic number. When you look at it across the system for us, in a $300 million budget and you have some committed, some the state makes you restrict mandatory that you mentioned, and then some that's assigned. When you look at all three of those total, we're still not as a percentage close to what the county has in your budget, but we're trying to get there. Okay. So when you look at the county's budget, you have about a $76 million operating budget. You have about $36 million in reserves. The school district, we have a $300 million with about 50, but 11 of that's restricted. So we would like to get to where the county's at some point. We'll keep working hard to do that.
Okay. All right, thank you for that. And then I've got a question, and I know it's not, it's not going to be an amendment, just something, an idea for you all to consider, if you haven't already. I know there's a lot of PTOs, a lot of sports clubs, organizations throughout the schools who, struggled with their fundraising activities this past year. And I was just thinking if there's somewhere that, it requires obviously some type of governance, but something where, I'm going to make it up. If there's a PTO that the prior year raised $20,000 and this year they were only able to raise $15,000, then maybe that $5,000 could be distributed to that school's PTO from the undesignated fund balance?
Doesn't need to be. We went ahead and did that in the budget.
Oh, it's already in there? Okay.
It's already in there. So the answer to that question is, we anticipated that. So we've been giving a $100,000 capital fund to each of our high schools. Been doing that for several years. So this year, because we knew they had taken a dip in gate revenue, because we had to restrict ticket sales across the county to comply with TSSAA, we increased that to $200,000 this year. And that's built into our budget. So each high school will have 200. About 3 years ago, we started doing $10,000 for middle schools, because middle schools were certainly, we felt like they had a need for that same type of capital. This year, we increased that to $20,000. We've never really done that for elementary schools, but in this budget that's in front of you, because really of what you mentioned, with some of the things PTOs in the past had raised funds for, that they couldn't do those things this past year, we just allocated across the board $10,000 per school.
Okay, okay.
So we've tried to address that.
All right, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
That's all the questions I had. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Becker. Thank you, Dr. Phillips. Commissioner Foster.
Mr. Chairman, I call the question.
Okay. All right, question's been called. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Kruger. We will proceed to vote. This will require a yes vote is to end debate and vote. A no vote is to continue debate. So we will vote. In just a second. Sorry, I kind of jumped the gun a little bit on Mr. Kemp. Sorry, Mr. Kemp. We have Mr. Mansfield, and Commissioner Taylor was in, and he's not now, but he was in at the start. Okay. 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 Okay.
All right, it's going to say Amendment 6. Under Amendment 6, this is the vote for the question. All right, the vote for question's on the board. Each commissioner, please record your vote.
There it goes. There it goes.
With 17 affirmative votes, question is approved. Let me get back on the main motion, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
We've had several amendments on it. All right, we're back on the main budget motion 210602. You ready to vote, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir. Yes vote approves the budget. No vote is against the budget. Okay. How do you want to vote, Mr. Hinton? Yes, Mr. Hinton was a yes on that. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hinton.
All right, the voting on the main motion, it's on the board. Each commissioner, please record your vote. All 24 votes are entered. Does anyone wish to change your vote? With 20 affirmative votes, the resolution is approved.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Kemp. Yes, sir. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Taylor. All right, 2106-03, Mr. Taylor, Commissioner Chris Taylor.
No, we don't need to do it. It's a contingency budget.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So we skipped that. Okay. Thank you. All right, we will now go to the most entertaining part of our agenda tonight. our zoning meeting. Mr. Kemp, would you like to read the public statement?
The Sumner County Board of County Commission will hold a public hearing on June the 21st, 2021 at 7 p.m. local time in the Bethel Brown Commission Chambers. Ricky Bobby Properties, LLC, rezoning PUD. Ricky Bobby Properties, represented by Green LID Design, 12th Commission Voting District, Michael Guthrie, Justin Nipper. Application is seeking a rezoning from rural residential to planned unit development PUD for the purpose of gaining approval for the purpose of a volunteer fire department facility, an existing private baseball field, and a proposed industrial warehouse building. Subject property is located on Highway 76, Cottontown, Tennessee, 37048. Is tax map 057, parcel 34.05. It contains 5.64 acres and is zoned rural residential. The Sumner County Regional Planning Commission forwarded a positive recommendation with conditions related to this item on April 27, 2021. A copy of this notice is on file in the Sumner County Development Services Department in the Sumner County Administration Building. Anyone having any interest or desiring to ask questions concerning this request is invited to attend the meeting. Okay.
We'll call the meeting to order. Does anyone wish to speak from the public on this zoning resolution? See no one wishing to speak. Public comments are over. Is there a motion to approve? Motion made by Commissioner Ring to approve 2106-04. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Kruger. All right, Mr. Mansfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple questions. Was there any citizen opposition to this? Any kind of letters or phone calls, or all the no neighbors had any problems or anything? What is the industrial warehouse building going to be? Just, is it the volunteer fire? Is that what it's for, pretty much? Okay. That's what I thought. So, okay. That's all I had. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mansfield. Mr. Nipper, Mr. Guthrie, are y'all good with this development? Okay. All right. We think so, Commissioner Taylor. We think so. I was thinking you were going to go with Talladega Nights, but I like the swerve there. That was well played. That's right. All right. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right. Consent agenda items are before you. Is there a motion to approve our consent agenda? Motion made by Commissioner Foster, second by Commissioner Sullivan. All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, your written reports are there in your packet. 2106, our notaries. Does anyone wish to make a motion to approve our notaries? Motion made by Commissioner Graves. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Chris Taylor. Let's vote.
Election of the notaries is on the board. Each commissioner, please record your vote. All 24 votes are entered. Does anyone wish to change your vote? The notaries are unanimously elected.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Kemp. All right. Committee on committees. Mr. Good.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Committee on committees minutes of the 9th regular scheduled meeting, 21st, 2021. With the start of the agenda for the Civil Service Board, County Mayor makes a reappointment for Terry Menace for a 2-year term. It was unanimous. I so move.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Good. Is there a second? Oh, I'm sorry. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Stewart. Mr. Guthrie.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to abstain, not because of anything against Mr. Mims. I like Mr. Mims. However, as an employee, I already get to vote on 2 civil service representatives. This would, in essence, give me a vote for a third person, so I'm only going to abstain for that reason.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Guthrie. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we'll show that Mr. Guthrie is abstaining in that vote. It passes unanimously. Mr. Good.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. County Mayor make a reappointment for Dan Toole, 3-year term, Library Board. I so move. It was unanimous.
Okay. Motion made by Commissioner Good. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Becker. I see no one in the queue. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Good.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You can see on your agenda that Jessica Hunter is deferred 1 month. County Mayor make a reappointment for Paul Good for a 6-year term of the Resource Authority. In the committee, it was unanimous. I so move.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Good. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Ring. Commissioner Mo Taylor.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I move to the nomination of Commissioner Steve Graves.
Second. Okay. Commissioner Steve Graves has been nominated for the Resource Authority and seconded by Commissioner Mansfield. Let's run it like this. A green vote is for Good, recommended by the committee. A yellow vote will be for Commissioner Graves. A red vote would be to abstain. Totally. All right, hang on. Let me do that again. That didn't quite work out the way I wanted it to. A green vote for Mr. Good, recommended by the committee. A red vote for Mr. Graves. A yellow vote for abstain. I think that'll make it easier. Sorry about that, y'all.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to speak. They cannot nominate somebody on the floor. You either have to vote this person up or down, and then I have to make another recommendation to vote it down.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mayor Holt. I was incorrect. Law Director confirms. So we will have to vote on the merits of Mr. Good's nomination. Yes vote is for him. No vote is to reject the committee's recommendation, and it would go back to committee. Or I'm sorry, the county executive's recommendation. Sorry. All right. So a yes vote is to approve Mr. Good's appointment by the county mayor. A no vote is to send it back to the county mayor. Commissioner Graves.
I just got a question.
Yes, sir.
Is there any time limit on how many times you could be nominated for this?
No, sir.
Okay, I just knew the Ag Committee was that way. Also, if Mr. Good, if he didn't run again or he got beat, does he carry on with that position too, that committee?
It does not for the county commission, it does for the cities. The cities
Okay.
people get to stay.
It is not affected on the county commission whether you're a sitting commissioner. It is in the cities. You have to be an alderman. No, I'm sorry, I got it backwards. If you lose on the commission or don't run, then you're off on the commission. Cities can continue to serve if they're not an alderman or alderperson. Okay. Sorry about that. All right, let's vote. Commissioner Mo Taylor.
Is there a county commissioner on the Resource Authority that represents the city? Because there has been before. There
has been in the past, but not currently.
That the city says, hey, I want Mr. X to be our representative, even though he's a county commissioner.
It has happened in the past, but not currently.
I
Yes.
thought it had, but I just wanted to clarify.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Goode.
The way it's set up, for those who don't know, is each city appoints their own, and Hendersonville has their mayor, Gallatin has their city councilman at large, and then there's 3 commissioners total.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Goode. All right, let's vote.
The vote is on the board. Each commissioner, please record your vote. All 24 votes are entered. Does anyone wish to change your vote? With 18 affirmative votes, Commissioner Goode is elected.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Kemp. Mr. Goode.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tourism Board reappointment for the county mayor. For Marlene Tice for 1-year term. It was unanimous. I so move.
Okay. Motion made by Commissioner Goode, seconded by Commissioner DeWitt. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Got a Commissioner Mo Taylor voting no. Any other noes? Okay. Show that it passed by a vote of 23-1. Mr. Goode.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The only thing left is the next month's business. You have it in your hand. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Goode. Education, Mr. Sullivan.
Committee meeting, we had a joint meeting with budget, and we passed a couple of other items. Dr. Phillips' bond for the current school year coming up, and just some information only, thanks to budget.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Emergency Services, Mr. Taylor. We didn't have to because we passed the budget. No.
Redistricting committee.
Oh, next, July. July, that's next month's business. Yeah, sorry about that. I misunderstood you, Mr. Taylor. Emergency Services, Mr. Driver. Okay, thank you, Mr. Driver. General Ops Committee.
No report, sir.
Okay. Highway, Mr. Hinton. Okay. Financial Management, Mr. Becker. No report. Okay. Legislative, Mr. Ring.
We have one resolution, number 210605, a resolution modifying the composition of the membership of the Liability Claims Committee and thereby the membership of the Self-Insurance Board, and I so move.
Okay. Motion made by Commissioner Ring. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Goode. I see no one in the queue. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Ring. Anything else for legislative? No, thank you. Okay, we'll go to budget. Commissioner Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Kemp. 2106-06, fixing the tax levy in Sumner County, Tennessee for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2021 and ending June 30th, 2022. We are recommending that it stay the exact same as it is.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Chris Taylor. Is there a second by Commissioner Foster? Mr. Mansfield's in the queue.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It was mentioned tonight, we're talking about, it was actually the American Recovery Plan, not the CARES Act, that we're getting that $37 million from. But I know one of the conditions of that, unfortunately, is that the state of Tennessee is not allowed to lower any taxes for the citizens and when they accept the money. But after reviewing our budgets here tonight, I did see room to provide much needed tax relief to our citizens, you know, especially suffering from inflation from all the votes that we're making in Washington and here locally that's causing inflation is through the votes we make on accepting these federal dollars. Therefore, I wanted to move to reduce the tax rate by 13 cents.
Second.
Okay. Motion made by Commissioner Mansfield.
Point of clarification, just to make sure, are you saying to supplement it with the other money?
Hang on one second, let me clarify. Motion made by Commissioner Mansfield, seconded by Commissioner Taylor. Mr. Mansfield, are you saying to reduce the tax rate and supplement it with the federal money, or just reduce it by 13 cents?
Just remove it by 13 cents, because looking over the budgets, we have money in our budgets that could cover that, so that's why I wanted to do that.
Okay, so the amendment has been made, or has been offered to reduce the tax rate by 13 cents. Mr. Goode. Yeah, go ahead.
Point of clarification on the point of the motion and the maker. Is that a suggestion to cut every employee across the board with those pennies, or what to do with them?
Okay.
I'm assuming that would be a deduction in every department and every employee.
Okay. Mr. Mansfield, do you have a proposal, since we've passed a budget that's funded at the 226 rate, do you have a proposal for the Budget Committee on how to cut that money if this amendment passes?
Yeah, it's not a proposal for that. Basically, you know, one thing that is in our budgets, for example, is the maintenance of effort for schools. We're $8.3 million over what the state law requires. That's at 13 cents on the tax rate, but you know, we have $50 million in reserves for the schools, which is last year, you might remember, when you pull that money out and then reappropriate it, it becomes a recurring fund. So those reserves are recurring every year. And so I know that we had done I recommended a 12-cent tax rate last year to cover for the teacher raises, because that money is always there, which left over actually. Last year, it left 2/3 more than was needed in the school budget reserves in order to cover what was required by the state,
Okay.
as well as have it. So
that would be out of order, Mr. Mansfield, because the school board passes a budget based on, and actually the maintenance of effort is incorrect as well. It's based on revenue collected, not on revenue allocated from the previous year.
So according to the state Department of Local Finance, the number they gave me this year for the maintenance of efforts was a little over $104 million.
Right, but she bases that off, she doesn't have visibility until we turn in our, Ms. Dursky doesn't have visibility until we turn in our finals at the end of the year. But we confirmed with her today that it is actually based on monies collected, tax revenues collected, not what's allocated in the budget. But you're welcome to check with her. If I'm wrong, I'll admit that. Yes.
Explain to me, or maybe the law director can, on how we can even entertain this amendment when we've already passed a budget.
Yeah. Yeah, we can't line item the Board of Education budget.
It's either up or down.
It's up or down. And we've
And that's,
already,
I didn't mention that. I was asked a question. My motion was just to reduce the tax rate by 13 cents, and that's my motion.
I'm gonna have to rule that out of order, Mr. Mansfield, because we've already approved. I don't know how we get around that, but I'm gonna rule that out of order, your motion.
Point of clarification too, sir. If
Yes.
there's any future amendments this evening that would ask for a reduction in the tax rate, I would ask that they specifically state exactly what's being cut, because it's impossible for us as a budget committee to go back and just randomly cut 5 cents, 6 cents, whatever number you're saying, without completely reworking the entire budget.
Yeah, let me clarify. The out of order part, Mr. Mansfield, is to cut the school budget because that comes from a constitutionally elected body, the school board. We can't line item their budget.
Well, that's why I didn't mention that initially, because I knew that, and
Sure.
didn't sever the budgets, which I moved to do, and so, which would have given us opportunity to maybe discuss that, but, so that's why, and I moved to have the tax rate before you do the budget, so that you can actually have that discussion appropriately and in order, but that was shot down as well, so that's why I'm still making the motions, but.
Okay? All right, so what I gather your motion would be is to reduce it by 13 cents, which would
Yes,
be
sir.
roughly about $8.5 million, which would require a substantial amount of cutting on the budget. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So a yes vote would be for the budget to have to go back and be addressed by the Budget Committee. A no vote is to return to the main motion to set our tax rate at its current 226. Okay, let's vote.
The amendment is on the board.
Hang on. Who said wait? I'm sorry, Ms. Kruger, go ahead. Yeah, a yes vote is to support Mr. Mansfield's resolution, which would be to cut the tax rate from 226 to 213. Okay? The result would be a loss in about $8.5 million in revenue that is currently budgeted that we just approved.
We've already approved that.
Right.
Yes.
So are we, we are voting on something that's going to vote against?
If you, hang on, let me clarify. Ms. Kruger has the floor. What we would have to do is the Budget Committee, the budget is passed. The Budget Committee, our budget would now be out of balance, and we would have to go back and cut roughly $8.5 million out of what we approved tonight.
Point of order. We'll
Yes.
have to then do a continuation budget, is that correct?
Yes.
No, yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'd have to go back and do the continuation budget.
Thank you.
And
I'm going to go to Mr. Tinsley and then to Mayor Holt. Mr. Tinsley.
How are we supposed to vote on this when we don't know what we're going to be cutting? We just voted for the budget, and now we're saying that we're going to vote against the budget, removing $8-point-some million from it, but we don't know what we're cutting from.
It's not my amendment.
Okay. I was just asking.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Tinsley. Mr. Holt.
Mr. Chairman, I really believe this is out of order. Let me tell you why. First of all, you've got maintenance of effort schools, sheriff's office, highway, libraries. I don't even know that you could cut $8 million or $8.5 million out of the budget and legally do it. And I think that any commissioner that would make a motion to reduce the tax rate needs to have specific items that need to be reduced along with the budget. It's not even realistic. And let me just say this, it's fine if you take issue with an item on the budget, but just to make random motions to reduce the tax rate is irresponsible. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Holt, I've consulted with our
Point
law
of order,
director.
Mr. Chairman.
Hang on. I've consulted with our law director. For this to happen, someone that voted in the affirmative for the budget would have to make a motion to reconsider that vote. Otherwise, the motion to amend the tax rate without specific cuts is out of order. Okay? Is anyone else that want to be in the queue to speak about the tax rate? All right, let's vote.
All right, so we're
Back on the, a yes vote is to set our tax rate at 226, its current rate.
If you rule now with the law director that it's technically out of order, well, why would we vote?
No, we're voting on the tax rate,
First
the
motion.
main resolution. Gotcha. So let me just, I think you make a good point, Mr. Good. Let me clarify. What we are voting on now is to set the tax rate at its current rate to keep it at its current rate of 226.
I'm just filing an objection, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Again, that's why I voted to move the tax rate before the
Sure.
budgets. So I don't need a lecture from the county mayor on this type of thing, and that was my point of order. And also,
Hang on. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry, Mr. Mansfield.
I'll yield.
Okay.
I also like to stand with him and file the objection on not doing it. You get your budgets from your tax rate.
Mr. Chairman, I can
Hang on,
address
I got it. You had the opportunity, you made a motion to, or you made a motion to amend the agenda, and that motion failed. So you had the opportunity to do that.
Yes.
Okay, but I note your objection.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's vote.
Okay, the tax rate resolution as filed that was in the packet is on the board. Each commissioner, please record your vote. All 24 votes entered, does anyone wish to change your vote? With 20 affirmative votes, the tax rate resolution is approved.
All right, I got two things before we wrap up. One, I meant to do this in my report earlier. I want to congratulate Mr. Driver on his retirement. And he has, when we come back from the 4th of July, about July 5th or 6th, he would have begun, I think, what did you say, your 41st band camp?
No, that'd be about
35th. But he will not be doing band camp. He will be retired. So congratulations, Mr. Driver. And Mr. Hinton.
A couple of points. I asked you for personal privilege. I want to tell you that the first time I served on this body, a penny was $24,000. When we voted a penny on the tax rate, that amounted to $24,000. On a more serious nature, do we have a structure for this human resource person that we're adding? Do we have a job description? Everything's okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Much.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Move to adjourn.
Yes, sir. All right. We stand adjourned.
Yeah. That's